Greetings, terrestrials. Today is May 20th, 2021, and these are some strange times indeed. That's right, you're watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre. I, of course, am your host, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre, for a full year now. We have been broadcasting high strangeness out into the airwaves. And here we find ourselves, a year older, a much nicer set. And we are broadcasting out to you live every Thursday, 9 o'clock, on twitch.tv/metcomedynight. Now, maybe you find yourself asking, what do people do when they tune into Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister? Well, let me tell you, folks, they open their minds, they open their eyes, and they open their hearts to the possibility of the unknown, to the very real chances that there might be something otherworldly out there beyond what we are led to believe. And every week we open up the phone lines and we take your calls to hear from you, the viewer, about your experiences with the unexplained. And I, Cliff McCallister, open up my ears and my heart to you each week to hear your stories. And now, a year into the program, folks, news is getting big. Crazy things, bizarre things are happening out there. We've got some big news coming right up off the top tonight, folks. Some big news coming out of 60 Minutes. That's right, the mainstream news. Sunday night, primetime, CBS. 60 Minutes, get them on the line. They're doing reports on the military studies and the upcoming disclosure of unidentified flying objects, or as the government likes to call them, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Can't have anything fun now, can we? They're studying these unidentified aerial phenomenons. It's gotten so big that it was requested in the last COVID pass, the COVID relief bill that passed in December. A little sticky note attached to it from the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Marco Rubio, a man with, you would not realize it, humongous ears. You gotta watch the 60 Minutes report in HD. See those things out there. He puts in this request, he says, you got until June to tell us about everything you know regarding unidentified flying objects and unidentified aerial phenomenon. He says there are folks in Congress who want to know about these things, but it's got a stigma around it, and folks here at Strange Times Indeed, we are removing that stigma. And we are putting that stigma onto Marco Rubio. From now on, I think we ought to approach the bizarre and the strange as these incredible things and treat Marco Rubio as someone who should, I don't know, live in exile. Because, of course, our goal on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, not just to open the world's hearts to the bizarre, but to end all wars. And to do that, well, first we've got to focus, folks, on what is going on with these unidentified aerial phenomena. And we've got to come to a consensus, a realization that the technology of these crafts are vastly beyond our own. And if we start looking at them, if we start looking at these crafts as if they are a threat, well, folks, that is going to be bad news for all of us. I'm a little out of focus tonight. Griffin52 says in the chat, hey, Cliff, sorry we're late. Had to figure out how to watch Twitch here on vacation. Well, glad you could join us for our 1-year anniversary show of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Now, here's the thing, folks. We were just talking about it. 60 Minutes did a full report on unidentified aerial phenomenon and the coming disclosure documents that should be coming out later this year, unclassified, for all of us to see and all of us to know. And this segment, this news story, a parade of military faces telling us that we should be concerned about these life forms. We should be concerned about these crafts because we do not know where they are from. Now, their presumption is that it's less likely they're from out of this world, but more likely that of a foreign adversary. Now, I am not one to tout American exceptionalism on this show, but if we don't have that technology, nobody else on this planet does. Not that advanced, and certainly not for the time span that we have been witnessing these crafts in our skies and over our seas. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. The director's got to wear their hat. All right, folks, we are getting into it. 60 minutes. Now, here is the bombshell part of this report coming out of this thing, an exclusive interview with two pilots who were on the aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz. They had radar reports of objects coming out of the skies and descending at 8 or 80,000 feet per minute. I don't remember it, and I did not take a specific note of that fact. A very fast span of time for them to be descending out of the sky and falling straight into the seas, folks. And so you find yourself asking, how close do I have to get to be in focus? You find yourself asking, what are these objects? Well, they send 4 folks out. You've got the pilot, and you've got their co-pilot in the backseat. These are fighter jets. They're like F-18s. They're flying out into the horizon line, and what they find out there in the seas, over the seas, is this bubbling span, this expanse of white water in the middle of the calm ocean. And above this bubbling water is a craft that is shaped like a Tic Tac, but about the size of an F-18. And of course, the broiling water beneath it, covering about the span of a 737, that degree of space. Just to put that in your head, a fairly big amount of area. Something's going on beneath the water, something's going on above the water. Now, this little Tic Tac craft is bouncing around. To quote David Fravor, one of the witnesses, it would be pointing one direction and then it would boop, in another one. That not confirmed to be the sound the craft made, but the sound that he made at the very least. And this is over the Pacific Ocean. He goes in and he's like, okay, well, this thing's moving around erratically. Let's see if I can get a closer look at it. He goes down to approach this Tic Tac craft. Sleeping Zebra, thank you for the congrats on a year. Thank you for joining us. Sleeping Zebra was one of our earlier Instagram viewers and has made their way here. We love it. We love it, folks. Anyway, he sees this Tic Tac craft bouncing around. He goes in for a closer look, and the craft notices him. And it begins to mirror him as he is kind of like spiraling downwards to get a closer look at it. It begins to move upwards, but matching his spiral until a certain point where he is face to face with this craft, and then it disappears, gone out of the sky, and seconds later is picked up on radar 60 miles away. These are not crafts made by terrestrial beings, or at the very least, no terrestrial beings that we know of. But we have done extensive studies on this show about the possibility of life under our seas, advanced species that have evolved since the beginning of time, living under our waters, and piloting crafts up to observe us, coming out of the seas and looking around. And it's said, perhaps, that this underwater species resembles the Greys. When you see a extraterrestrial on film or television, it's typically depicted as a Grey, a shorter creature with a large head and big almond eyes. They are out there. They may be beneath our seas. And this report is coming out, and it has hit the mainstream. This is news on CBS 60 Minutes. A year into broadcasting this show, and the weird is getting out there, folks. It's coming out there, and you've got to be tuning in every Thursday, 9 o'clock, right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight, because we're ahead of the curve on this. If you were following along, they didn't even approach the possibilities that there may be life under our waters piloting these crafts. But you look at the evidence, it might be there. 60 Minutes is going to look back at this in August, and they're going to say, holy crap, it was right under our noses the whole time. All right, let's take a look in the chat, because, folks, there's even more to this. We're not done yet. Hi, Stephen. Glad you made it home for the anniversary show. We were worried you weren't going to make it. That's my message to you in the chat, Stephen. Stephen, of course, our tech on the show. Stephen, how are you doing?
I made it. I am here. I'm doing great. Really, I've got some food. I hadn't eaten much today because I did have a surgery. And I made it home just before this show. Time to hit the stream key, and you know it's great. So if you didn't know, I had a screw in my foot February, but now the screw is out of my foot, and they let me keep it. Look at that bad boy.
Look at that foot screw, folks.
That was in my foot.
Now that is an incredible medical oddity.
Just for reference, it's this big. It is this big. That's a large screw for a foot.
That was inside the man's foot. And he is here tonight showing you this screw because he is dedicated to coming on this program and helping us search for the truth and all the weirdness out there. Stephen, thank you so much for making the time to come in and be a part of our show every week, but especially tonight, the night after you had a surgery.
It is the 1 year anniversary of Cliff McCallister, you sharing the truth. And with all this big information about to come out, I couldn't miss it. So there you go.
Well, I'm so glad you are able to join us here tonight, especially because you're our tech guy and we've got some new footage, some new UFO footage, just like I was talking about. This is footage from the USS Omaha. Now, what you are going to see is a craft hovering over the seas where the vast majority of unidentified flying object sightings seem to have occurred. And there's so many of the seas that we are not actively looking. It's almost impossible to keep an eye on all of it at once. There may be unidentified flying objects hovering above our seas at this very moment without us being aware of it. So, Stephen, if we can pull up that footage, we're going to walk you guys through it in just a minute. There it is, right up in the corner. We can even make that a little bigger. So this is this craft. This is the craft. What side do I need to be on? There we go. Okay, this is the craft. It's hovering over the oceans right there on the horizon line. Men from the USS Omaha are keeping track of this craft as it hovers there over the skies. Now watch it. Just floating there, and then all of a sudden, you can see the waves beneath it. You can see the seas, and then, here we go. Are you ready, folks? Buckle up. If you've been paying attention to Strange Times Indeed for the past 2 or 3 months, you're not going to want to miss this right here. Get ready. Here it goes. Here it goes. It's happening. It's going right now. It is descending into the sea. And there it goes beneath the shoreline, gone. We've been saying it. We've been saying it for months now, folks, as Ivan T. Sanderson wrote in his book, Invisible Residents, as the new theories are coming out about knowledge about these undersea beings and their incredible crafts. This news keeps getting more and more evidence, folks, why the writings of Ivan T. Sanderson may not just be science fiction speculation. Of course, the book itself, not speculation, but or not the book itself, speculation, but not science fiction, but in a genre so quickly dismissed as science fiction. We have the largest defense budget on the globe. How is this footage so shitty? I want high res. That's a fair complaint. I believe part of it is because the radar technology that they use, or the camera technology that they use, is stipulated to show high contrast on things like that, rather than nice crisp 4K color photos. But yeah, I mean, you look at the limitations of what we can do on camera, and they want to speculate that these crafts might be from another country. No, we're not going to war to get more oil over these crafts. It's not going to work out that way, I don't think. Was it night? Like, oh yes, this was also like night vision type of footage. Thank you, Sleeping Zebra. Always right there, paying attention and following along, folks. I mean, this is big stuff coming right out here on our 1-year anniversary of programming. We're going to get into this. This next story, plenty of big news, folks. Crazy things are happening. And I, of course, Cliff McCallister, the czar of the bizarre, here to share them all with you tonight. This is footage. This is a Bigfoot sighting. This was sent to us by one of our viewers, Barefoot in 52, not too recently, earlier today, in fact. We're going to pull this footage up here. Now, this is also night vision footage. This is from a trail cam. It's picked up a bizarre creature that could really only be speculated to be a Bigfoot walking through the woods late at night. Let's see if we can get that footage up whenever you're ready.
Oh. Did you want volume with this clip?
I don't think there's any relevant sound on it.
Okay, yes. I think there was some volume in the last clip, and then I muted it, so because I didn't think you needed it. All right, this clip's coming.
That's all right. So let's take a look at this thing. Here we go. All right, so look at where the arrows are. The good folks of TikTok doing their due diligence. There we go. Did you see it? Did you see the creature pass through? I missed it because I was trying to figure out which way my hand should be facing. Let's roll that clip again. Take a look at this Bigfoot footage. Now this is such a. What do you guys think? What do you think in the chat? Obviously, just a large, shadowy being. What I find kind of interesting about this is that you can't quite make out distinct legs. It almost feels as if it's got kind of like one mass where the legs ought to be, as if it were like wearing a dress of sorts. But big footage, folks are creeped out. I mean, this is fascinating stuff coming out of a trail cam in Birch Bay, Washington. And of course, I know that it popped up on there, but I do want to make sure we're doing our due diligence to credit our sources. This was on TikTok, and this was from drumroll, folks, accountability in reporting from Cryptid University on TikTok. You can also follow me on TikTok. I'm at Strange Times Indeed, right there. You can follow Cliff McCallister, the czar of the bizarre there. You can follow me on Facebook. Just kidding, I'm not on Facebook, but you can follow me on Twitter. And you can follow me on Instagram at Strange Times Indeed. If you got to get Cliff McCallister in your life every day of the week, I'm on all those. We got the social media right up there. Give me a follow, folks. Get your Cliff fix every day of the week. And we've got a big announcement coming later on in the program because, after all, it's our 1-year anniversary. Big things are happening. We're going to be partying after the break. But first, we're not done with the news stories. Folks, we've got news. We've been tracking this since the beginning of the program. I'm not entirely sure if we had a news story about this in the first week, but we did have it very early on. Before we made the switch over to Twitch, there has been numerous sightings of the Mothman at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. And just in the past week or so, we've got 2 fresh reports coming in on SingularFortean.com. Now, this is a woman's report. Now, this is a Chicago Aviation Department employee. This one's a little lengthy, but you can hear her skepticism in her report. not necessarily her skepticism of what she witnessed, but perhaps her fear to confirm it and her uncertainty of how she would be treated for coming forward with this information. I mean, you don't hear about it. It's not part of the 60 Minutes report, but if you go to 60 Minutes Overtime, you learn that those pilots who witnessed the craft were ridiculed on the ship. On movie night, they would start rolling Men in Black and Independence Day, Mars Attacks, just for a laugh, just to kind of poke fun of these 4 pilots who witnessed something that they can't explain. Thank you for the anniversary wishes, Gulgaku-Gwyn. Ooh. It is, we can't be mocking people for coming forward with these experiences. These things happen. They can't be explained, and we're just trying to find a foothold in it all, trying to get a chance to do it. The Bigfoot was spotted near where your producer, Kevin's cousin, is getting married this summer. Wow. I bet that would be a lovely place to get married. I'm sure he would love to see it if he wasn't busy. Working at a summer camp or something like that. Programming note, not sure what the show's going to be like in July. But that's irrelevant because we'll always be back here regardless. Let's get into this Mothman news, folks. Now, this is a report from like I said, Chicago Aviation Department employee. She says she wanted to relate a possible... Let me read it in first person. I'm not going to try to translate this to third person the whole time. It will be a train wreck. She says, I wanted to relate a possible sighting of the Chicago Mothman that I had on April 15th, 2021, just a month ago, at approximately 9 p.m. at Chicago O'Hare. I initially was not going to report this and had kept it to myself for fear of someone thinking I had lost my mind and was seeing things. That changed when I read the sighting that was posted on Facebook about the gentleman who had the Mothman sighting not even 2 blocks from where I work. The sighting prompted me to look up your website and eventually send this to you. I work for the Chicago Department of Aviation at the office located on the airport grounds. I have worked there for about 9 years and had previously worked at the airport in another capacity for 5 years prior. I know the airport like I know the palm of my hand, and I have heard stories that people tell about all the strange goings-ons that happen with surprising frequency. My sighting happened after I stayed late to catch up on work and had left about 9 p.m. As I walked out of the building into the parking lot, I heard what I could only describe as wings fluttering, kind of like you hear when a bird is going to take off or land. I dismissed it as just geese, as the airport has literally hundreds of them that hang around doing whatever geese seem to do. What followed was a loud screech, nothing like a goose's honk, but a very, very loud, ear-splintering screech like what you would hear when a train is applying its brakes. But it was different as it went from a higher octave to a lower one, and then to a higher one again. I know it was not the train, as the tracks are on the other side of the airport, about 3 or 4 miles away. I continued walking towards my car when I heard the screech again, and it sounded like it was coming from behind me. I turned and looked toward the trees over by the road and saw what looked like 2 red eyes staring at me. I sat there looking at those eyes for what seemed like an eternity. I couldn't move, and it felt like the air was being sucked out of my lungs, almost like I was having an asthma attack. I saw this thing emerge from around the trees. It was illuminated from behind by the warehouse that was across the road, and it must have been 7 to 8 feet tall and was black. About this time, a large truck was coming down the road, and it shot into the air and was gone in a matter of a second. I stood there for a few seconds, still too afraid to move, when I finally came to my senses and I practically sprinted for my car. I could not get into my car fast enough, and as I closed the door, I heard the screech again. I turned on my car and left as quickly as I could. I'm not one for over-exaggerations, but it felt almost as if I was being stalked. I felt sick to my stomach for 2 to 3 days after the encounter, and it took just as long for the feelings of paranoia to finally go away. It was a feeling of utter and complete hopelessness that disturbed me the most, and it helped contribute to my hesitancy in telling someone. I didn't even tell my boyfriend until after I had decided to send this to you. I said it before, folks, we cannot be stigmatizing these kinds of stories. The feeling of dread and hopelessness this woman has experienced in making eye contact with the Mothman. Now, we know what happened when the Mothman appeared in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. We know about the bridge collapse that happened over a year later, following frequent sightings in the area. It is reported that there were sightings of the Mothman at Chernobyl before the infamous incident. And so we must ask ourselves, is the Mothman a harbinger of doom or a prophet of some sort of warning? Either way, folks, something is going on. There is some high strangeness in the skies above Chicago. Because that's not even the end of it. We've got another reporting from May 9th. Just earlier this month, this is a woman named Mary. She's a 47-year-old community college professor and a resident of Chicago's South Loop. Now, this story happened in the city of Chicago, not at the airport. She says, I was walking with my son on Northerly Island, just south of Adler Planetarium last night, around 8:30 p.m., and we saw a strange object in the sky over the Aon building. I'm thinking it was the Chicago Mothman, but my son is convinced that it was a powered paraglider. Not because we clearly identified it as such, but because it is the only possible scientific explanation. It was a black curved object moving at a constant speed and with little to no altitude. It did not have any visible lights or audible motor. However, we were approximately 2 miles away. It glided between buildings southbound through the entire loop and continued over McCormick Place until it disappeared from sight. I emailed a paragliding school to ask if it was normal for paragliders to fly in the loop at night. They replied that it is forbidden for paragliders to fly over congested areas. I'm reaching out to you to see if anyone else reported this object last night. Again, this was in the loop. Potentially, thousands of people could have glimpsed it outside their windows. Any feedback you have is greatly appreciated. The loop, of course, a loop in the transit system over in Chicago, Illinois. Now, in this whole loop, in this popular area, there is a Mothman flying around. And there's something happening at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. The Mothman sightings are going off the charts. They're getting more and more frequent. We're getting closer to official UFO disclosure. 60 Minutes is covering the phenomenon when there are other things going on in the world. Other pressing things that they're not doing segments about. Something big is happening, folks. Something big. And if you're following Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, you know that I'm going to be right here with you every step of the way as we figure out what is going on. And we open up our lines every week to hear from you, to hear about your experiences with the bizarre. Now, of course, we are celebrating a whole year of broadcasts tonight here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We've raised up Spangler. He is our three-legged chupacabra survivor. Works on the show with us here. And I think it's time for us to go to a quick commercial break. And we will be right back to celebrate 1 year of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We'll see you in just a minute, folks. Don't turn on a different browser tab.
We cut to the mayor's office of Jollyburg and check in with Mayor Chester Chuckleface III. That's them. as they prepare for this event that could probably make or break the town.
It's going to be great. I'm excited for my event. I plan things good. I fund the right projects because Jollyburg is jollying on up. This is my calling. Who cares if I only won the election by a small margin? This is gonna be it. This is when I prove to my constituents that that I'm good at my job. All right. So I'll just never leave this office in case it goes badly. Maybe. Or I'll look out the window at the courtyard and see if it's going well. Okay, looks like there's people out there. I can't tell if they're actually participating in the festivities or not, but who cares? I'm sure it's going great. Okay.
Mayor.
You know what? I need to. Yeah, I'm sorry, somebody's there. Ha 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 ha. Mayor Jolly here. Chuckles. Mary Jolly Chuckles.
So another musician's been hired, which is excellent. But we really need you out there, starting kicking things off. Like an opening ceremony.
Yes.
Let's do a persuasion check with disadvantage.
Really rather not.
10,
Not great.
6.
No, the mayor's probably good in here.
No, I think I'm probably good in here. I've been practicing standing at the window and waving. I'll even open it if I feel compelled.
Okay, great. I guess I'll go back out there and.
Oh, I mean, you can stay if you want. You can watch from the window with me. It'd be nice to have the support.
But if you're in here and I'm in here, who's running the festival?
That person with the pen and the clipboard.
Right. All right. Let's watch from the window.
Greetings, terrestrials. Today is May 20th, 2021, and these are some strange times indeed. Why, in fact, I'd say it's been a whole year of strange times indeed. A year exactly tomorrow, May 21st, 2020, the date of the first broadcast of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. And of course, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister is dedicated to the Maryland Ensemble Theater, the only theater with the guts to put us on the air. Why, they've had us on the air since July. We've been doing this show a little bit longer, but we are here and we will be here until the end of time. Because that is our dedication to the truth, folks. And Maryland Ensemble Theater has the guts to bring that truth to you. They've also got the guts to treat you to a free improv show from Oh Crit, the D&D improv group. They're going to be performing tomorrow night right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight at 9 p.m. Tune in right here. It's going to be their final show, their final Friday night show. And then I hear something else might be cooking, but you got to tune in because that's their thing to announce. So tune into that Okrit tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. And if you're feeling adventurous, if you're ready to get out there into the world, you're a real mover and shaker, and you're saying, I want to do theater outside of my computer. Well, the Maryland Ensemble Theater has you all set and ready to go because their next show in their main stage season of surprises is Midsummer, A Most Rare Vision, a Shakespeare-inspired celebration of being together outside at Thorpewood in Thurmont, Maryland. You can get tickets and learn more at marylandensemble.org/midsummer. Now, folks, let's get into it, terrestrials. It is a year of broadcasting, a year of strange times indeed with Cliff McCallister. For a full year, we have been opening up our phone lines. We have been inviting you to call in and share your experiences with the Bazaar. We've shared news of the Bazaar. We are going out there and we are doing this show as a public service every week to make sure that people understand that these things are out there and happening. We've got to acknowledge that and explore that. We can't keep writing it off forever. That's becoming increasingly clear, but folks, tonight, next week, the research continues, but tonight, we celebrate a year of programming right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. I want to show something off for you folks. Here it is, the original set of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister from Instagram Live. There it is. Wow. Now that's some set, huh? And now we've blossomed into this, and you're all here. Double-digit viewers, folks. We gotta say, we would be nothing if it weren't for the fact that you folks tune in week after week. I mean, we do this show for you, and a little bit for me. At least, I've got to do something. I'm Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bazaar. If I sit out in this shack in the middle of the woods, I'm nothing but a hermit. So we must broadcast the news of the Bazaar out into the universe, out into the cosmos. Now, folks, someone should call in to celebrate any strange stories. That's a great question. Let's do this, folks. If you want to talk to us about the show, if you want to share a story, we are celebrating. Stephen, come on camera. It's a year into the show. We can be a little more casual. Yeah, partying in the USA, my friend. Now we've got a special treat. And I am being handed a gift. I'm being handed a thing from our producer. He says, "It's a gift. It's a gift for me. It's like a birthday gift." Well, let's see what we got here. Oh. No. All right. I mean, this is okay, folks. We are about to step up in style here. Here, all right. Here we go. Maybe we'll try it without the glasses. The glasses on over. There we are, folks. Wow. How did you know? I mean, really. Look, I gotta say, man, I think this is a real wonderful gift. I mean, I was driving here to the studio just today, and I thought the sun is in my eyes, and I said, if only there were a way I could block it while still looking fashionable, but no other sunglasses offer that other than these. Yeah, I know. I saw you had your eyes on them, so I thought they'd be a pretty good gift. Yeah, well, I really, you knocked it out of the park. You knocked it out of the park with this thing. Well, thanks, man. Yeah, let's talk about it more later. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for these. All right. Wow, folks, let's get into it. Hey, these glasses are out of this world, everybody. All right, let's go ahead. Let's open up the phone lines if anyone wants to call in. And if you've got
point, call in.
Yes. If you've ever got something you got to say, there's a little keyboard shortcut. You do exclamation point, call in, join us right here on the show. Oh my goodness, Spangler thinks these are treats.
Just like that.
Yes, and we'll pop up there. You can join us. You can talk about this show, or you can talk about your experiences with the unexplained. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, Stephen, let's celebrate. We got ourselves a little treat to celebrate this thing. Let's do this. I want to make eye contact with the folks. But truly a wonderful gift. I cannot wait to wear these more later. All right, look at this. Here we go. We are celebrating tonight a year of broadcasting. We got ourselves some astronaut ice cream. Steven and I, this is a birthday treat. This is a Neapolitan ice cream bar. All right, now hold on, folks, because I can see that Spangler is excited at the sound of wrappings. And so before we give ourselves a treat, let's go ahead and give him one. So let's get
Cat
this
treats.
Cat treats time. Look, you don't even have to redeem the points. All right, let's get him something. Let's get this guy a little treat. Whoa, whoa. Here he is. Here's our little fella. Hear that? That's the sound of excitement, folks.
Remember,
that is the sound of a boy about to get some kibbles that he doesn't realize are just his normal food. All right, little guy. Whoa. Whoa. Do a spin for the folks at home. There you go. All right, and take a bow. Good job. And they said I couldn't work at the dolphin enclosure.
Dolphins could be the cats of the sea.
They are. All right, let's break into this. Steven, folks at home. Look, here's a little bit. I'm not going to subject you to chewing ASMR, but here's some wrapper stuff for you. Oh. You need to see it? Look at that. Iced cream.
But it's not cold, and it's not wet.
Everything that ice cream isn't, this is. With a real cookie crust and everything. All right, Steven, which side are you eating first? I'm
going to go into the chocolate first because I feel like the strawberry is going to be the most mesmerizing.
I agree. I think strawberry is the strongest of the three flavors of astronaut ice cream. So I think best to save that one for last.
So I want to read the back of this. We
take
the ice cream you know and love, and with the power of freeze drying, create a yummy new snack. Frozen in time, yet not frozen in temperature. When you remove the water from ice cream, what do you have? A delicious, crunchy, yet creamy sweetness that melts in your mouth, sandwiched between two chocolatey wafer cookies. Intriguing.
Now, the thing about astronaut ice cream is I'm not sure how I would describe the texture. Visually, it looks like chalk, but it truly does kind of dissolve as soon as it gets in your mouth, which I don't believe chalk would do, though I've never tried it, and I do not intend to.
Like biting into a tough cookie, but then it's like if chalk could dissolve as quickly as cotton candy.
Perhaps. I feel it's a little slower than cotton candy.
Right. It's slower.
I'd say getting chocolate out of the way first was the smart idea.
But it does dissolve like cotton candy.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this chalk texture, like right at the very beginning, and then it just dissolves away.
It quickly gives way to something that is like dissolvable styrofoam. Neapolitan is a flavor, but not a texture, I believe. Trying to hammer down the mouthfeel. This incredible astronaut ice cream, a birthday treat. You're on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister.
For one reason or another, I feel like I need a napkin because I'm eating something that looks like ice cream, but it's not melting in my. It's not sticky. It's not getting all over the place.
I feel like I need a napkin because I'm getting little chunks of it on my lap. and it's like I'm like a child.
It is
But
brittle.
it's making a mess.
There's like dust that falls off of it. Astronaut dust.
Mm-hmm.
Brittle little black dots.
So, Steven, you've been watching the show by proxy, by being our main tech guy. Let's blow some smoke up our own asses. It is our birthday. What have been some of your favorite moments? What are you enjoying the most about this show?
You know what? I was really hyped when we got that call from the viewer who we didn't know and did not show his face.
The viewer knew but could not immediately identify. So we were filled with the thrill of having our first caller who was a complete stranger.
And
then we know that we get to experience that again at some point.
We
It's
found out
like doing your taxes wrong the first time and then doing it a month later and then finding out, oh, I don't have to pay $1,000 more.
We found out that we knew this person, but it didn't take away from the experience when originally he didn't give his name. He just called in, shared his story, and it very much had tied into some of the things that were the topics of that week's anyways.
Yeah.
And so like at the end of the show, we were both just like mind blown, like, oh my gosh. And it turned out, yes, we do know him, but it was still like a really, I just remember feeling uplifted from that encounter, hearing about his encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool.
There have been so many like fun stories that have been shared on this show. Our friend Panda Fox Comedy called in and told his story about a UFO that he witnessed over a lake as a child. Our friend Amber, they called in, shared this great, almost gothic horror story about a ghost sighting that happened at Hood College. Our friend of the show, Cullen Dolson, called in. He shared a story of spectral butter.
The butter.
Forrest, do you remember Forest Ranger Steve's story in this past year?
Yeah.
So our friend, Forest Ranger Steve, comes on the show. He shares this story with us. And this, of course, you can be watched on the Met Comedy Night YouTube channel. You can find all our old episodes there. Save for one or two ones from Instagram I haven't been able to get over. Join us there. And by join us, I mean it's already happened, so you don't have to join anything. Watch it at your leisure. But we talked to our friend Steve. He had this incredible encounter at one of the state parks where he was working, where he witnessed this bizarre humanoid creature. And then people were potentially attacked by it. Wild stuff. I mean, this is a year of broadcasting, and who's to say what the next year could hold?
I still have vivid pictures. Not that I've seen it actually happen, but as his story was being told, there's such clear details. Like I was creating within my own imagination what things must have looked like. But yeah, a kid was in a thorn bush.
Yeah. And not unsure of how they got there, but the kids seem to report seeing the same creature that Steve did earlier that evening. So it's very fascinating and very troubling and interesting story. I mean, people go missing from the national parks every day. Experienced hikers. Happens all the time. It's right there. If you're on TikTok, you know, folks. You're well aware.
Oh,
I had a story typed out while you guys were eating. If you want to read it, if you want to read it, Cliff, for your show, I would love to read a typed out story. Let's go ahead and just because we are at 9:56 already. We're getting to the tail end of the program. We've got another thing we got to talk about. But Stephen, let's get our email address on the screen. If you want to type it out, you can send it to.
It looks like it might be going into the chat.
Oh,
okay. Here
sometimes the chat also does not let you write more than like one sentence at a time.
That's right. That's right.
Because that's a weird like TikTok rule. But let's get you can send it to our email at strangetipsindeed@gmail.com. Again, that is strangetipsindeed. That is where we take tips. That's our tip line. If you got a news story that you think I might not have seen, send it over there. If you've got a story you want to share, but don't feel comfortable calling in or want to share anonymously, you can do it that way. So that is a great resource. Thank you for reading that. The chat. Thank you, Sleeping Zebra. I cannot wait to read this. We will share it on the show next week, I promise. But we've got one more thing tonight as we wrap up the program, folks. I teased it earlier. I said there's a big announcement. We've been talking about We've been talking about my different social media platforms. Well, folks, we're adding one more, confirmed 70 minutes before the show, before Stephen even got into his apartment to do this. We are launching, to celebrate a year of programming and to celebrate an eternity more, we are launching the Strange Times Indeed Patreon channel, where you, the true believers, can become, well, I can't call you true believers. I think that's Stan Lee's thing. Either way, folks, you can become a member of Cliff McCallister's Strange Times Society for Seekers of the Bizarre. It's right up there on Patreon now. You can check it out at patreon.com/strangetimesindeed. Here's some of the channel levels. Here's some of the tiers and some of the rewards, folks, because we've thought about this. This is going to be a fun place to be, but you got to sign up. You got to take part in it. It's a great way to support the show, and that supports me, Cliff McCallister. That supports our research fund, and that's also going to go to support Stephen a bit as he supports us on the show. So all of that goes to support our team here at Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, so we can keep doing this and we can grow it even bigger than this. We can do reports out in the field. We can do all sorts of stuff. We can take this show on the road, flesh it out, do even more with it. But please help us out as we do. Help support Stephen and myself. You can do that. Here are some of the membership rewards for $3. For just $3, you can become a member of all of these are members of Cliff McCallister's Strange Times Society for Seekers of the Bizarre, but there are sub-orders within the society. For $3, you join the Terrestrial Order of Truth Seekers. Hang out with Cliff McCallister and other Strange Times Society members in our Patreon-exclusive Discord channel. Get access to bonus digital content, including behind-the-scenes audio recordings and society-exclusive transmissions from the Czar of the Bizarre himself. That's me, Cliff McCallister. Plenty of digital content there. For $9, you can join the inner circle of card-carrying weirdos. Welcome to a higher level of the Strange Times Society. As a thank you for your monetary allegiance to the unexplained, a membership card will be sent to you with a welcome letter from Cliff McCallister himself. Plus, you can take part in a super secret monthly video chat with Cliff McCallister and fellow members of the inner circle of card-carrying weirdos. For $25 a month, this is the Director's Lodge. Of course, the director right here, the higher being that observes our show and keeps us on track, keeps us from going overtime. And the Director's Lodge, this is $25 a month. This is the big spender account. But here's what you get. At last, a level of patronage for those who wish to commune with the unknown. Backers at this level will receive a physical piece of art, being a zine or a postcard, something like that, every 2 months. Plus, backers in the Director's Lodge can select one movie for Cliff McCallister to do an Instagram live stream of. We do those on my Instagram page. It's a fun, free event for anyone to join in and do a part. But if you join at the Director's level, you get to pick one movie by becoming a member there that I will have to watch at some point, and I will work with you to make sure that you are able, so that we schedule that screening for a time in which you can enjoy that live stream as well. So a great chance to kind of take part in the show. And also at that level, you can submit a 2-sentence cryptid message. A cryptid message that's 2 sentences long. You can send us in an audio file of that, and it will be transmitted from the director at any point during the broadcast. So you can influence the show at that level, but you also get interactions with me. We'll have a post-show chat just for members of the Discord of the Directors Lodge. We'll have a post-show chat, a special Discord level for those folks. And we'll all be hanging out there. We'll be having fun. We'll be talking about the news. We can chat it up and discuss our theories all week long there in the Discord. You'll get special behind-the-scenes stuff on the other thing. A great chance to support us here at Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister and help us grow this show. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll have a roadside attraction. But I'd say that announcement is a couple of years in the works. So in the meantime, you can support us there. You can support us there at patreon.com/strangetimesIndeed. It's been a year of broadcasts. And of course, we are dedicated to our home of broadcasting, the Maryland Ensemble Theater, the only theater with the guts to put us on the air. You can learn more about them at marylandensemble.org. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here in the chat, for watching the show every week, for calling in and sharing your stories. This past year has been an absolute blast. I'm having the time of my life doing this every Thursday night. So regardless of whether or not you support the Patreon, we're going to keep doing this show right here until the end of time. That's my promise to you folks. You don't have to support us monetarily, but it doesn't hurt. But in the meantime, keep tuning in right here, twitch.tv/MetComedyNight every Thursday at 9 o'clock. We'll be bringing you the truth, the bizarre, the unexplained right here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Thank you so much for tuning in, for commenting, for sharing your stories with us. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your medical oddities, for sharing your dreams with us over the past year. Stephen's a trained lucid dreamer. He's going to be dream walking more in the year to come, that's for sure. Thank you for the applause to many more years. Glass Delusion. Congrats. Thank you, everyone, so much for the applause, for tuning in. Truly, this show is all the highlight of my life. So let's keep this thing going as long as we can until we drop dead, folks. And until that day happens, I've been Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre, and you've been watching Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We'll see you next Thursday at 9 o'clock right here on twitch.tv/MetComedyNight. Stay strange, terrestrials. Greetings, Barracks Bunny. Cliff McCallister here, the Czar of the Bizarre. I've just been reading up about how you should not put your hats on the bed. In David Pickering's Dictionary of Superstitions, it says, straight from the text, hats must never be laid down on beds or tables, as it invites extreme bad luck, especially in sporting circles.